Car dealership manager kicks out black man, unaware he is the new owner. It was a sunny afternoon in Beverly Hills, and the glimmering showroom of Sterling Motors buzzed with activity. Gleaming luxury cars were neatly lined up, and the scent of leather and polish hung in the air. At the center of it all stood Rachel, the dealership's no-nonsense manager, dressed impeccably in a tailored gray suit. She was known for her sharp tongue and even sharper instincts when it came to potential customers. So when Daniel Brooks walked into the showroom wearing a simple white shirt, looking stressed, Rachel didn't even blink before making her judgment. But before we dive into what happens next, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from today? Drop a comment below. Daniel looked around, marveling at the selection of high-end vehicles. To him, this was more than a dealership. It represented a dream. Years of hard work had led him here, though he wasn't dressed the part today. Rachel, spotting him from across the room, sighed audibly and walked over. "Excuse me," she said curtly, standing in his path. "Can I help you?" Daniel smiled politely. "I'm just here to take a look around. I've always been a fan of luxury cars." Her eyes narrowed. "This isn't a gallery. These cars aren't for window shopping, and I doubt you can afford anything here." She folded her arms, blocking his view of the nearest car. "Why don't you try somewhere else? Something more in your range?" Daniel's face fell, but he kept his composure. "I'm not causing any trouble. I just wanted to explore the showroom for a bit." Rachel rolled her eyes, her voice dripping with condescension. "Listen, I don't have time for this. If you're not buying, you're wasting my time and everyone else's. So, if you don't mind, get lost." A hush fell over the showroom as some employees overheard the exchange. Daniel stood there for a moment, visibly hurt but unwilling to argue. He took a deep breath, then reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. "I think you might want to reconsider your tone," he said calmly, tapping the screen. Rachel let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, really? And why's that?" He smiled faintly and held up the phone, showing an email with the subject line, "Congratulations on your purchase of Sterling Motors, Beverly Hills." It was from the corporate office, confirming his acquisition of the dealership just 2 days prior. Rachel's smug expression froze. Her mouth opened and closed as she tried to process what she was seeing. The other employees, now fully aware of what was happening, exchanged nervous glances. "You're lying," she stammered, though her confidence had visibly wavered. Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out a set of keys. "These are for the office upstairs," he said, holding them up. "Would you like me to prove it?" Rachel's face turned pale as realization dawned. "Wait, you're the new owner?" she whispered. "Yes," Daniel said firmly. "And the first thing I'm doing is reevaluating this dealership's staff, starting with you." The room went silent. Rachel looked around desperately, but no one came to her defense. She had built her reputation on being harsh and unkind, and now it had come back to haunt her. "Please, Mr. Brooks," she said, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean—" "You meant every word," Daniel interrupted. "And that's the problem. You judged me the moment I walked in without knowing anything about me. That's not the kind of environment I want for this dealership." Rachel tried to protest, but Daniel turned to the other employees. "Starting today, things are going to change around here. Sterling Motors will be a place where everyone feels welcome, regardless of how they look." The staff erupted into quiet applause. Rachel, realizing she had no argument left, quietly gathered her things and left. Over the next few weeks, Daniel worked tirelessly to transform the dealership. He implemented diversity training, revamped customer service policies, and created a scholarship fund for underprivileged youth interested in automotive careers. Sterling Motors quickly became one of the most respected dealerships in Beverly Hills, not just for its cars, but for its commitment to fairness and inclusion. As for Daniel, he remained humble. Every now and then, he'd walk the showroom in his hoodie and jeans, a quiet reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that respect should be given to everyone, no matter what they look like. Weeks later, Sterling Motors had transformed into the talk of Beverly Hills. Daniel's leadership had infused the dealership with a fresh sense of purpose, and customers of all backgrounds now walked through its doors, confident they would be treated with respect and fairness. But Rachel's abrupt departure left a shadow over the dealership. Daniel knew the story of her humiliation had spread through the local business community, but he wasn't one to let grudges fester. He believed in second chances. One afternoon, Daniel sat in his office when his assistant knocked on the door. "Mr. Brooks, you have a visitor," she said hesitantly. "Who is it?" Daniel asked, looking up from his laptop. "It's Rachel," she replied, her tone uncertain. Daniel paused for a moment, then nodded. "Send her in." Rachel stepped into the office, looking vastly different from her usual polished self. Her hair was pulled back into a simple ponytail, and her tailored suits had been replaced by a plain blouse and slacks. She seemed nervous, clutching her handbag tightly. "Rachel," Daniel said, leaning back in his chair. "This is unexpected." She hesitated before speaking. "Mr. Brooks, I wanted to apologize for the way I treated you. I was wrong. There's no excuse for what I said or how I acted." Daniel studied her face. There was no trace of the arrogance she once wore like armor. "Why now?" he asked simply. Rachel's voice trembled. "Losing this job was a wake-up call. I realized how much my biases clouded my judgment. I've spent the last few weeks reflecting on my actions and taking steps to change." She hesitated, then added, "I've been attending workshops on inclusivity and even volunteering at a local community center. It's opened my eyes to things I ignored for too long." Daniel listened intently, his expression unreadable. After a pause, he said, "That's commendable, Rachel. But why are you here today?" She took a deep breath. "I know I don't deserve it, but I'd like a second chance. Not as manager. I'm willing to start at the bottom, even as a receptionist. I just want the opportunity to prove I've changed." Daniel leaned forward, his hands clasped together. He thought back to his own journey, the struggles and second chances that had defined his life. He had always believed in the power of redemption. "I'll be honest, Rachel," he said finally. "Your actions caused harm, not just to me, but to the environment of this dealership. Trust isn't something that can be rebuilt overnight." "I understand," Rachel said, her voice barely above a whisper. "However," Daniel continued, "if you're serious about this, I'm willing to give you a probationary position. You'll start as a customer service associate and work under supervision. It'll be up to you to prove that you've truly changed." Rachel's eyes widened in surprise. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "But let me be clear," Daniel added. "One mistake, one sign that you're slipping back into old habits, and you're out for good. Understood?" "Understood," Rachel said firmly. Over the next few months, Rachel worked tirelessly to rebuild her reputation. She treated every customer with respect, regardless of their appearance or financial status. She even became a mentor to younger employees, sharing the lessons she had learned the hard way. One evening, as the dealership celebrated a record-breaking month, Rachel approached Daniel. "Thank you for giving me a second chance," she said sincerely. Daniel smiled. "You earned it, Rachel. Just remember, change is a lifelong journey." Sterling Motors thrived under Daniel's leadership, becoming a beacon of equality and opportunity in Beverly Hills. And Rachel's transformation served as a powerful reminder that it's never too late to right your wrongs and build a better future. Drop a comment if you enjoyed this story. It doesn't cost you anything, and you'll make me very happy. Thank you, and I look forward to your like.